May 28th, 2026. I am going to do a review of the 87 Masters of the Universe. But I figured I would do the video over here, show you guys. This is all the stuff from the 80s. That survived. That's not He-Man. That's just, yeah, Raggedy Andy. There's Clawful. So yeah, this is the He-Man stuff that survived. Some stuff I had to get rid of. Some stuff just didn't make it. But that's the original Castle Grayskull. I don't have the Talon Fighter though. And no, I'm still missing. There's a bunch of stuff missing from that one. I don't think there's anything else that's He-Man related. I put it all here. All right, start the review in a minute. Hey everybody, it's Joe from the Strange Voyage Files. I just showed you the Masters of the Universe stuff. Yeah, there's nothing else. I'm kind of looking around the room. There's nothing else floating around. When I redid this one of the times, I tried to put everything together as best as possible, and this was the Masters of the Universe section. Yes, so I'm gonna, because we have the new Masters of the Universe movie coming out, which I'm going to review. I'm very excited to see this one. I was very nervous when we saw the first pictures of it, because the very first pictures we saw were of Adam being arrested on Earth, and I thought, oh God, didn't they learn from this? As did a lot of people. But it seems like they may have done it right. They may have done like a reverse Superman thing where they send him to Earth to protect him from Skeletor, and he hopefully very quickly makes it back to Eternia. But I'm definitely going to talk more in depth about that movie when it comes out. I am very excited. Everything looks great. Initial previews of people who got to see the movie, I think they did the premiere yesterday or 2 days ago, are really strong. So I'm really hoping. And I'm also fearful that hopefully it's not just a one and done, whereas this one's great, but then sequels suck. So we'll see. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this one. This one was 87, I want to say. Of course, they don't have the real date on it. Wait, do they? Yep, 87. From Canon Films, which just give us a bunch of crazy, great adventure movies. But yeah, this is the 87 film. Now, one of the things that was very important to this, there's not much in there, with the Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe, is it totally ignored the Prince Adam concept. Now, you've got to remember, Prince Adam, when the initial toy line came out, there was no Prince Adam. It was He-Man. It was really scaled off of Conan the Barbarian. So it was a very, very unique concept, whereas you had this family-friendly version of Conan. And I do believe, so I watched those, there's a couple of great documentaries on Masters of the Universe. And I think it really was initially supposed to be sold to as Conan the Barbarian, and it just either wasn't going to sell it, they didn't want it, or whatever, so they revamped it. But if you look at those old comic books that came with the figures, He-Man was a barbarian. He leaves a barbarian tribe to go defend Eternia and fight Skeletor and whatnot. So there's no aspect of Prince Adam. He's not a prince. His parents are not the king and queen, not King Randor. I can't remember the queen's name at the moment. He's just some guy. So it's a very, very different lore. It's those first few comic books were kind of gritty. They were kind of dark, and I think that's what they were going for with this. Now, I do remember them talking about this, and the early information that came out about this movie was that there wasn't going to be a Prince Adam, that they were ignoring that whole lore and whatnot. I was happy, and I will take it a step further, and I was kind of hoping that's what the new one was going to do. So far, it looks, though, like they're doing it well, so it is what it is. But this was yes, it was a kids movie, but it was going to go from that original concept, which was very, very appealing to a lot of people. There were a lot of people that said, yes, I want, put this down a second. There are a lot of people that said, yes, I want that He-Man. I want that Masters of the Universe. And we got it, but as you know, it went straight to hell. What went right with the movie? What was wrong with the movie? Well, the biggest right with the movie, the greatest part of the movie, was Skeletor. Frank Langella played Skeletor. He was phenomenal, and I believe he had no intention of playing that role. And some kid, his son, or his nephew, somebody along those lines begged him to do it, and then he did it. And I remember the interview. He said, I did not look forward to sitting in makeup for 4 hours or however many hours that it took. But he did do it. He was unbelievable. He was phenomenal. Frank Langella was great. Dolph Lundgren, I know, got a lot of backlash for his portrayal of He-Man. I think for what he was given, he did a pretty decent job. We got Gwildor instead of Orko. Obviously, they didn't have the technology to make Orko really work in live action, because remember, he floats. I mean, I guess they absolutely could have done it, but it probably cost way too much money, and they didn't have the budget for it. So instead of Orko, we got Gwildor. Evil-Lyn was great. Oh, I can't think of her name. Is it on here? What is her? Meg Foster. Yeah, she always popped up in some, like she was in They Live. She popped up in some movies here and there. She did a great job as Evil-Lyn. She really was kind of evil. And that's kind of about it. Inside Castle Grayskull was great, but that's really where the movie, the pluses come to an end. The big minus, it was on Earth. This was like Jason Takes Manhattan on a boat. It really failed. And they could have made it work. They could have done, they really could have had Skeletor rip up Times Square. They could have had Skeletor, just causing havoc in a major city. Kind of like the Avengers. Again, I doubt they didn't have the budget. This is canon. And canon was one of the funny things. There's a documentary about Canon. Canon was a funny company because they would bet on one film being a success so they could finance 10 other films. It was probably not a great business model, but that's what they did. So I guarantee you they didn't have the money to do anything like that. And they probably didn't have the money for a lot of big sets that would be needed for this movie. So, hey, let's go to wherever, probably somewhere in Canada, that's where everybody films, and film this Masters of the Universe movie in, small town USA that's really in Canada. It really, it killed everything. The rest of the characters, at least in my opinion, are really unlikable. You have a guy named Blade, who is never one of the figures. Oh, God, I can't even think. He's in the new one. The guy with the lizard-looking thing with the long white hair. He comes out of nowhere. You do have Beast Man that was in that, but you don't have, Merman. You don't have Trapjaw. You don't have Triclops. You didn't have any of these phenomenal bad guys that we wanted to see. Then on the good side, you had Teela. She was okay. Man at Arms, pretty boring. And you did have a sorceress who just stayed trapped the whole time. I mean, she really did nothing to move the plot along except be kidnapped, and their whole point is to save her and to free Castle Grayskull. So, and then you have Courtney Cox and what's his name from Star Trek Voyager? Oh God, what's his name? I can't think of his name. not James Tolkien. No, what's the dude's name from Star? Because he was the guy from Star Trek. Whatever. It'll come to me from Voyager. Are in it, and horrible and depressing. Again, this is a kids movie, and Courtney Cox loses her parents. She's got to leave town, I believe. I haven't seen this movie in a while, but trust me, I've seen it enough times. Leave town. That's depressing. What is a 10-year-old kid? What is an 11, 12-year-old kid who's now remembering from 1983, their 83, 84, the series they loved. What is this? Why are we talking about parents who I think they got killed in a plane crash? They were like, the father was an amateur pilot or something like that. And at the end, she goes back and she's able to take the keys and stop. It's just stupid. It's absolutely stupid. And that's about half the plot of the movie, is this dumb thing with the parents. So, yeah, it just drags on as an absolute, I don't know what to do. Let's write a story that fits the budget. And I have a very strong feeling that the boys and girls at Canon said, you know what? If we just slap Masters of the Universe on this, it's going to make a ton of money. It didn't. It did not do well at all. Now, Dolph Lundgren is supposed to have some cameo in the new one, and so that's I'm looking forward to that. He did a good job. I mean, Dolph he has taken heat for this one. I think he did a pretty decent job with what he had. So you can't really throw too much at him. This movie was really bad. I mean, I saw it in the theater. I remember being thoroughly disappointed. I'd watch it all the time when it would come on cable. Just with kind of the hopes that I would just like it more. It was He-Man, and that was it. And we weren't getting any more. It was such an absolute disaster that we weren't getting more. Is this the one that... This may have been the one that destroyed Canon. Leave it in the comments if you know. This may have been the film that finally put Canon in the pooper. I know it wasn't... Yeah, because Superman was Canon too. Superman 4, I think, was Canon Films. This may have been the one that destroyed Canon Films. I don't know. Not a good movie. And again, Frank Langella was phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal. He took Skeletor in a different direction than the TV show. He played him dark, and he did a great job. If they could have gotten another real studio to pick up a sequel with a real script that really happened on Eternia, I think that this one could have been forgiven, and people would have gone to see it because you had a. I mean, there's probably some recasting that needed to be done. If you added more people that we knew, if you added Ram Man, if you added Stratos, if you added definitely, I love Merman. I don't know why. I don't know if he's in the new one. I love Merman. I thought Merman was awesome. I remember seeing him, getting that figure for the first time. I'm like, this is a freaky looking figure. Beastman just kind of looked, when I first got it, Beastman just kind of looked like a Wolfman to me. I'm like, typical, yeah, I already checked the box for this. Merman was just like, this is a weird looking figure. I think if they did, if a real studio picked this up as a sequel, they could have even kept Dolph Lundgren, but, obviously get rid of this whole Earth thing, get rid of Courtney Cox, and, oh my God, what's his name? I can't think of his name. The guy who played the boyfriend, the guy from Star Trek, and actually recast Teela and Man-at-Arms. Meg Foster was awesome. Keep her. They probably would have had a pretty big hit, but it is what it is. So, all right. And for the next week or so, this is the only Masters of the Universe we have, and then that's going to change. So, let me know what you think. Again, this isn't terrible. I'd watch this a trillion times. Probably the last time I watched this movie would have been, it wasn't even when I got this. I got this just for to make sure I had it, because I don't like streaming. You know, I do stream, but I want to make sure that my physical media collection has the stuff in it I like. So I probably watched this 3 years ago, but again, I've seen it a trillion times. So let me know what you think. Is it good, bad? And again, it's good. It probably would have been a better movie if it wasn't Masters of the Universe, because everybody was putting it up against what we wanted and what we knew, and it failed in all those regards. So, all right, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the new one. I am absolutely going to do a review of the new one. I cannot wait to do a review of the new one. And like, subscribe, and I will see you. I love it. I got a little remote now. Doing this with my phone. I got a little remote. Still going to do some stuff upstairs in the room like I traditionally. I like to put the background. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that with my phone. And because when I usually do it, it's right at my computer, and I have that program that automatically, whenever I set it up, I don't even remember how I did that. Sure, there's a way to do it with this, and there's no way I'm going to try to figure that out. So, all right. See ya.